so Barbarian. It's a horror thriller. The blurb for it, the description of it, is a woman staying at an Airbnb, discovers that the house she's rented is not what it seems. Now, I think it'd be good if we keep this spoiler free. I think when we talk about Barbarian, I think within the realms of spoilers, the plot is the setup is what you can get from the trailer, which is a young lady in the middle of the night turns up at an Airbnb. It's been double booked. Bill Skarsgård, who people know as Pennywise the Clown in the new It movies, is also booked there. And what they're going to do, they decide to, stay the night together. Not together romantically, but, just share the house. Yeah. There's a bit of uncomfortableness about that, which we'll talk about in a bit. And then they discover a basement and a door in the basement, and then that's as much as the trailer teases you. And that's probably all you need to know to enjoy the film. I think
so, yeah. Now, I'd heard about this. I think I watched Red Letter Media, and I did actually watch the spoilers, and I kind of wish I hadn't now, because I thought the film, would you agree it's got that kind of Jordan Peele kind of vibe to it? It's got that very realistic style, hasn't it? The characters are quite cute, they're quite clever, they're not like stupid people who are like, let's just go out and start crash the car in the middle of the night.
Generally, that is quite a good selling point for this. I think there's a couple of little bits which I found a little bit annoying, but I guess it's always that struggle, isn't it, that if you've got a horror movie where someone finds a spooky tunnel in the basement, you've got to have somebody go down the spooky tunnel in the basement. So you've got to think of ways to get them to go down there. So you always have to have these sort of certain movie. But a lot of the time, the characters were acting fairly sensibly, really. I mean, in the meet cute bit at the start, because you just think, well, surely she's not just going to go and trust this complete stranger and just share him. Because the thing is, watching it, we know it's a horror movie. The character doesn't know she's in a horror. Yeah. She doesn't know she's in a horror movie, if you think of it like that.
You say meet cute, I don't know about that. It was kind of meet scared, I thought.
No, I didn't. I thought the bit what I really liked is where she's nervous, but then she photographs his ID, and there's things like that. Like I would just think, well, she's got a certain bit of security because she's like texting her friends or whatever and saying that this is where I am, so people know where she is and things like that. But then, like, the tone and the music really sort of softens down, and they feel like they start trusting each other a little bit. That kind of synopsis, if filmed in a different genre style, would be the start of like some sort of cheesy rom-com. Yeah,
and I think, again, I'm going to try. Rob, I think what we ought to do is give it a couple of weeks, and we'll have another chat about this with spoilers, because I think there's a lot to talk about. But I felt like we're going down one trope route, and then the film goes in a different direction. So I thought, she's turned up. Bill Skarsgård appears to be a nice guy, and he's doing all that thing, isn't he, where he's like, oh, they've left a bottle of wine for us. Oh, I haven't opened it, because I thought if you wanted to have a drink, you'd rather see it. And I thought, God, you know, these are real world things that happen. I mean, we live in the sleeping Midlands, don't we, Rob? And you do hear about people having their drinks spiked at a bar. So
it's interesting because Bill Skarsgård's character, there's little things at the start where there's things like him offering to have the couch, letting her have his room, or like help it, or bringing her case in. He plays it like he's sort of, I've been brought up to be the gentleman, so I'm trying to do these gentlemanly things. But in a way, it actually makes him a little bit creepy, because you think he's trying to win her over. So you're just thinking, well, what's your real intention? So he's very hard to read, and I think it's interesting them casting him because he's been Pennywise. You think, it seems like a nice guy, but it's a horror movie and he's played Pennywise. So easy, and he's trying to work out if he's whether he can be trusted or not.
Again, Rob, spoiler free. Justin Long's character. What did you make of that storyline?
Yeah, I mean, this is the difficult thing about talking about it, really, because it's structured. This doesn't spoil it too much, but I think it's structured. It sort of follows some characters for almost half of a film, and then it sort of does a little time jump forward, then it does a big time jump back, and then it almost goes back to the present again. So there is a character in it which I think it's interesting. It does play with genre tropes a bit. So you have a character you just think, is this guy a sleazebag? Can he be trusted? And then you meet this new character, Justin Long's character. Is he a sleazebag, or should I be having sympathy with him? Or does he? We're in a horror movie. Is this a character that deserves to get, whatever's coming to him.
I thought there was a lot of things being said that weren't being said, if you know what I mean. A lot of subtlety, in as much as on one side it's a horror, it's a am I going to be attacked in the house type thing, kind of horror. Please, listeners, don't watch any spoilers. Watch the film. But on the other side, there was a lot of what was being said there about. What women's safety and men's safety? What would you do in the same situation? What about if you're involved with like the Me Too accusation? What about if you did something and
that's not even subtext. It's pretty much text, isn't it? The stuff with Justin Long's character, it's there. So in that way, it does remind you of the Jordan Peele thing, where he's having like a bit of a, there's a commentary on something that's going on in the world today.
There's a little scene with Justin Long in the bar with his mate, isn't there? Do you remember that scene?
Yeah.
And it's a great bit of dialogue. About that in the
spoiler. We'll have to do a spoiler-free review, and then we'll do a spoiler review, because that scene's worth talking about.
Very, very.
I think for someone who might be listening to this thinking, is this worth a watch or not? I think if the horror that you want, if the horror you're going for is edgy seat tension, nail biting tension, then I think it works really well. It's not Terrifier 2 or Hostel, or it's none of the pornography type things. It's not fully gory. There is bits of, it is a horror movie at the end of the day.
I've read
I think it plays more to suspense, I think.
Yeah, I've read quite a reviews where it's like, oh, this is boring, nothing happens. But I would say that's the first half, because it's lots of setup, but also suspenseful and a bit creepy. And then in the second half is a bit more payoff, isn't there? If that's the kind of thing that you're after.
My feelings towards this film is the first half of it, I thought was some of the best horror movie sequences ever. I absolutely loved the first half of the film. I found it really gripping. I was genuinely biting my fingernails. I was really tense, almost like feeling like I was watching it on my own late at night. So I was thinking, I wish I was watching this with someone, to share with it, because I think this is a great film. I wish I could share this with someone. And it is a little bit tense, and maybe I should put the light on. I found it really gripping, especially when they find the tunnel and stuff like that. I was real tense.
I plan on rewatching this with my son, because he's a bit of a horror nerd coming up. So yeah.
Then I think that the sort of middle-ish section just after halfway is still good, still very good, but then the ending, I think it's a shame. I think it really fumbles the ball at the ending, and without spoilers, I think you can have your suspenseful horror, something that's going to get me build up tension kind of horror movie, or what's around the corner, like haunted house type horror movies, or you go for your unstoppable killers like Freddy Krueger and Michael Myers.
Yeah. And
I think my problem with Barbarian is it tries to do both. And I think it goes from that one type of suspenseful, what would you do in this situation? And then it starts becoming your unstoppable Freddy Krueger type villain.
Do you think?
I don't think it does that shift very well. And I really wish that had changed the ending. And I don't know whether.
I was just going to say, if that had took 15 minutes off it, do you think it would have been better? I feel like that. I feel it. Yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying. There's an air, again, spoiler free. There's an air of Michael Myers type thing going on, isn't there?
Yeah, I don't know whether it's one of those things that maybe it was changed to this after test audiences. People want a big bang ending, don't they? Which is, they said that, like, I remember famously someone saying, like, the end of Jaws, you've got to blow up the shark. That's what people want. It doesn't matter what happens in the book, you've got to blow up the shark. The first 45 minutes, what I really like, there's a couple of things I sort of noticed the director's doing. This is a first-time writer and director. He wrote and directed it. Zach somebody. Let me just check. Zach Kreger. He does really clever things where there's times that we're seeing what the character's seeing, so he puts us in our shoes. There's other things where you just to the one side, just standard sort of headshot direction. And there's other bits when he's really playing with, we can see the character and we can see something they can't see.
Oh, do you know what? I'm so glad you said that, because there was quite a few. I think there's one scene, isn't there, where it's either Bill Skarsgård or it's Justin Long. They're sat at a table looking on a laptop, and you see them, and you also see the corridor with an empty door at the end.
Yes.
And I'm constantly looking at that, thinking any second now. They do it with the woman, and sometimes it's a payoff, and sometimes it's a fake out. And
there's a bit when she's outside in a car. She's at a car, and you see, and you're not quite sure if you're actually seeing it right for it. And there's like something blurry in the background. It's getting close, and you think, oh, that's somebody coming. It does that sort of thing, and as soon as he starts doing that, you're doing the same things you did with the Invisible Man film. Came out a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
You're right. You're scanning the corners of the frame, thinking something. As soon as the door creaks open, your eyes are scanning and thinking, "Is that character where last we saw them? Is something coming again?"
Is there a jump scare going to happen?
As soon as the classic horror movie tropes, but someone's walking down some steps into a basement. You're thinking, is something going to be behind the steps, going to grab their ankle? Is what's going to be happening here? Someone opens a creaky door. Is there going to be something on the other side? All that tension build, I think, is done brilliantly. You could stop. I mean, it'd be frustrating, I suppose, what the director wanted, but there's a scene when it cuts to black, and after about 45-50 minutes, I think, that's almost before it jumps to a different character. You could almost just stop it there, and it's a great short film.
Yeah, very good. Although I did like it with the Justin Long parts, and I realised it. For me, it was like again, we'll talk again another time, but for me, the last 15-20 minutes, I thought, oh, you know what, you could have just chopped that out, and it would have kept them all. So
yes, I think it's a shame.
Do you remember, friends of the show remember our review, earlier this year, called a film called A Promising Young Woman? Do you remember that?
Yes. Yeah.
I felt a bit of the vibe of that going on here, and it was that sort of like strangers meeting someone new, not knowing if they're what they say.
I think that's the unsettling feeling of not knowing who's good and bad, where when you do watch things like Scream movies and you see all these annoying teenagers acting in an annoying way, they're just fodder for the bogeyman killer that's going to wipe them all out. Whereas something like this is more like that Promising Young Woman, because you're not quite sure who to side with them. You're not quite sure what's going to happen, really.
Yeah.
But
come on, Rob, how many Bill Skarsgård's funny eyes do you give it out of 10?
Well, I probably ended landing on more of a 7, unfortunately. But I do think the first half of this film is probably like about a 9. I was really, really liking it quite a lot. And then it kind of dipped to a bit of an 8. And then, I don't know, 7 out of 10 seems a little bit harsh. That's probably my ending feeling. But really, it's worth watching. For the first half of the film is superb. So
really, I'm going to go the same, but I'm going to go 8. Yeah, at times for me, I was
fair,
like,
maybe 8. Yeah,
I was like, God, this is really good. And then near the end, I thought, it just went a bit tropey into horror tropes at the end. But it's still really good.
Yeah.
But
there's a really nice. There's actually, I'm going to say now, because there's another bit. There's a bit where they do a big flashback, and the camera's following this character, and you don't know who it is at all, and you don't know why we're following this character. You start putting together why it's following, and it's filmed in like this sort of tracking, slightly fisheye lens camera, which gives.
And it had the colours. It's like a 50s. A little bit like Edward Scissorhands. That kind of like perfect suburbia.
Actually, the best compliment I could say that, yes, if you're a horror fan, definitely give it a try. It's on Disney Plus. It's certainly in the UK now, and it's definitely worth a watch if you're sort of a bit of a horror fan. Yeah,
highly recommended. Thanks for watching. Please give us a like and subscribe to see more of our content.